What's up, Creampuffs, and welcome to my video about my thoughts, theories, predictions, and questions regarding Carmilla Season 3. Now, some of these are more observations than questions, but some of these are also personal theories I've had for about a year now. Now, these are listed in order of importance, the most important of which are left until the end. Now, this should be pretty obvious, but spoilers? Number 13, it's going down. A fight with Danny. Either Mattie versus Danny or Carmilla versus Danny, or both. However, according to the trailer and some behind the scenes footage, most likely Carmilla and Danny. Also, it's obvious that there are going to be more fights with other characters, including Theo and finally the Dean. Personally, I hope Danny rips Theo's throat out, but whatever. Number 12. Danny is no longer the Danny we know and love. The Danny we fell in love with from the very beginning was everything a hero should be. Selfless, strong, and protective. We loved that she literally fought for everything she believed in until her dying breath.
I'm not scared.
And when that fire was gone, we all mourned her. However, once the Dean brought Danny back from the dead, we could all see that the Danny we loved so much is gone. She attacked and possibly killed Kirsch, one of her best friends, without even a second thought. And in the teaser trailer, you can see the evil in her eyes and mannerisms. I mean, look at that! Those are the eyes of nightmares. She also grabbed and fights Carmilla, something Danny's tried to do for ages. She's had urges to do this before, we all know this.
You! Get away from her! You, me, right now.
But she's never had the balls to do it like this until now. But who knows, maybe she is the same Danny with just a low impulse control and a stronger sense of freedom from emotional obligations. Number 11. Papa Hollis is a chill dude. I honestly don't think that Papa Hollis, as the Creampuffs have already come to label him, even cares that his daughter is gay. Either 1, he finds out and doesn't really care, or 2, he already knows. I mean, he doesn't seem very homophobic when he's showing his daughter's girlfriend her baby photos. I just assume that like any other normal human being, he will freak out more over the supernatural than he would over his daughter being gay. I mean, who wouldn't? And if he does, then great job, kind of TV. Great job. Number 10, LaFontaine, the Underdog. In my personal opinion, I think Laf will end up doing something that will either save some lives or the day in general. With their overactive mind and their constant urge to experiment and tinker with whatever's around them,
I'd like to find something to experiment on now.
it's safe to assume that they've created something in the time they've spent in the library with Laura and Carm.
You've got to give it up to the mad scientist. Less than 36 hours to set up an Ethernet cable in a non-Euclidean space?
I'm assuming they've been there for weeks, even a couple months. It would be almost out of character for Laf to not have discovered or created something within this time, especially in regards to saving Perry from the Dean's possession, if she's still even in there. And according to articles about this season, we're going to find out more about Laf, their background, their gender identity, all of that. And I'm excited to see what that means exactly. Number 9. Goodbye, cruel world. Quite simply, more students will die. And by that, I mean more main characters will die. Hearts will break. We will cry. I also predict a redemption death that will satisfy many. Yeah. Number 8. Carmilla the musical? Now, the Creampuffs have been requesting a musical episode for the past couple of years. Me included. Once we all saw that Natasha...
Tell me I'm crazy, maybe, I know, but I can't help loving that man of mine.
Elise...
You go on back to her and I go back.
and even Caitlin can sing.
'Cause I can't help falling in love with you.
We freaked out and requested it even more. I mean, after all, it wouldn't really be hard to chalk up an epidemic of people having to express themselves through song as being the fault of some creature, spell, or curse. We have seen weirder shit happen on the Silas campus. But after seeing a shot in the Season 3 trailer where Carmilla and Laura are yelling at each other, my hope was sort of renewed because it also looks like they're both kind of singing. I mean, I've accepted that the chances of this happening are slim to none, but can't I dream? Number 7, 1904. Since literally the first episode of this series, the year 1904 has been thrown in our faces.
Begging for help to find Dudley Chapel, which burnt down in 1904.
The year half the campus burned down. We hear this event repeated and talked about a couple times in season 1.
Within a half mile of the Lustig, which, side note, what is it with people trying to burn that place down? Didn't they already torch it back in 1904?
But in season 2, we hear about it even more and find out that it actually has even greater significance to the actual plot.
This marks the first time since 1904 that the entire board has assembled on campus. 1904, why does that sound familiar?
That's the year half the campus burnt down.
What about the minutes of the board meetings in 1904?
1904? Is in the time the campus burned down, 1904?
Yeah.
It looks like some students noticed the patterning of missing girls and rioted.
Okay, so it's making sense. So we know that the student body rioted back in 1904 because they noticed that the girls were going missing.
I just got a text. Trapped in basement of old chapel. Come quick, bring steaks.
The Dudley Chapel. The Lustig building. They're under the Lustig building. Laura and I followed LaFontaine across campus to the Lustig building and then down through the basement into a series of caves.
What if they were the ones that burned half the campus down because they knew the dean was sacrificing girls there? I mean, it makes sense that they tried to burn down the chapel and the Lustig to stop her. In a way, it's not very different from what Laura's trying to get the student body to do now. Band together and rise up and defeat the dean. In a way, time is repeating itself. Well, that's my theory. I mean, I honestly think that 1904 connects everything together.
It looks like the dean put forward a motion to try and kill the anglerfish.
What?
And the board overruled her. They didn't want to risk it.
Maybe she was only sacrificing people to keep the beast asleep because the board wouldn't let her kill it.
Well, it is a little weird that the dean wanted the fish dead and now it is dead.
I mean, she wanted the board out of the way. She wanted the corvée controlling the campus. She wanted the anglerfish dead. If the dean weren't, dead, it'd be her party.
My theory? We'll find out more about 1904 and the events that happened during that year, including the fire that nearly destroyed the campus and any other events that are being kept hidden from us. I'm really hoping that we find out all the secrets and details, and that they play not only a larger part in the story, but a larger part in stopping the dean as well. Number 6, Mattie Knows All. Ever since she literally strutted on the scene in her Louboutins, Mattie has always known more than she cared to reveal or imply, even to her sister, whom she's known for hundreds of years.
Mattie, what's going on?
As season 2 progressed, we saw her begin to reveal tidbits of her mission at Silas, what the dean wanted her to do, and even more about Carmilla.
You mean how his ancestor loved Carmilla, took care of her, and in return she killed his whole family?
If by ancestor you mean necrophiliac, and by loved, grave robbed her undead body.
However, Mattie herself didn't know all the answers, but began to collect and put together the pieces of this grand puzzle, and by the end of the season, it seems like she knew it all.
What does it matter? We have bigger problems. That wasn't just a death prophecy, sis. That was doomsday talk. The end of all things.
Sadly, before we can find out more from Mattie, she's slain. Thankfully, she's back in this season. She's as badass as ever, and I'm really hoping to hear her explain it all in detail. That is, if she isn't just another minion for the dean again, since the dean did revive her. But I honestly think that with her age and power, she's strong enough to break through any hold the dean may have on her.
And there it is, kids.
Number 5, Hollstein Reunited. The event we have been waiting for since the breakup. Since then, they've had time to not only see the darker sides of each other, but to learn how to love and accept all of it. I mean, we all knew that Laura and Carm would end up back together, but seeing the clips and the photos just puts us into a frenzy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to this more than almost anything this season. Number 4, Laura will become a vampire. Now, this is something that has been in the back of all of our minds for a while. Sure, we all had a mini heart attack when Laura got bitten in the first season, and we all thought that she was going to turn or something was going to happen. But we all breathed a collective sigh of relief when we saw that vampire bites don't turn people in this show, which is kind of interesting. However, we are confronted with the pinnacle conundrum of human-vampire relationships. Laura is aging, and Carmilla is not. Personally for me, because there's so much shit going down at Silas, and because Laura is not a Bella-esque character whining and demanding to be turned into a vampire to stay with her vampire lover for the rest of eternity, made me not even think of this. However, when it comes down to it, I think the end of this season is going to be a clusterfuck, and people are going to die. I think that Laura may end up mortally wounded in some way, and the only way to save her is to turn her into a vampire. I also predict that by the end of the season, Carmilla will be strong enough to do it herself, as much as she might not want to. But we all know, love will have its sacrifices. Number 3, a multicam season? I briefly touched on this in my previous video in which I analyzed the season 3 trailer. We have seen shots in the teaser and official trailers that are obviously not from Laura's webcam when the big climactic events go down at the end of season 3. Laura's not going to be able to broadcast to her audience because 1, clunky laptop, and 2, she won't really have an audience to broadcast to. They will either be mostly dead, enslaved, or fighting by her side. As an amateur cinematographer myself, these multicam shots had me screaming. Number 2, an avatar for primeval forces of death and pain. Does anyone else remember when Mattie drank the blood of the Great One?
Turns out god blood really packs a wallop.
Remember when Carmilla did it too?
Is that... Wow. It is a really big black cat. Why do you think it's headed for the anglerfish crater?
Is anyone else as anxious as I am to see the effects it has had on the both of them?
Are you still all non-avatar-y and stuff?
So far.
Since it looks like it hasn't completely reconfigured them into mindless avatars bent on complete and utter destruction, maybe it will grant them great powers that will actually help them all. I mean, even the Dean didn't drink from the anglerfish. Or maybe she did. Maybe that's what allowed her to survive the Blade Imposter.
Does it say anything about what would happen if it ate, say, a very old, very powerful vampire like your mother?
We didn't kill it?
I am very excited to see the effects the blood has had on their physiology, their minds, and even their souls. Number 1, JP was never really JP. My favorite theory. Now, I've saved this theory for the very end because I am so passionate about it and have been ever since Will's body was reanimated for JP to live in. My theory? JP was never put into Will's body, and that Will's body is just that. Will. Now, I know what you're all thinking. But Laugh brought his body back and did all the Frankensteining that was necessary. Wouldn't they know before anyone else that JP wasn't really JP?
Well, yes.
If Laugh was the one to reanimate him. We see that the Dean always plays innocent, like she doesn't know what's going on.
Oh my god. The duffel bag. We were dragging back his body?
Who's to say that she didn't see Laugh trying to smuggle back Will's body and reanimated him while they were trying to transfer his consciousness into Will's dead brain? This would imply that Will has been in on the grand scheme for a while now, and that he is more clever and more capable of so much more than we ever thought this mama's boy could ever be. Now, what really cemented this for me was when he ran off to save Perry at the end.
Where's Perry? We can't leave without her!
You get to safety. I'll find her.
He was just regrouping with the Dean to find out what the next step of the great plan is. Now, we don't see him with the Dean when she was reanimating Danny, and Danny turned Kirsch into a little Capri Sun. But he could have been anywhere else in the house, or even out scouting, doing any other mission for the Dean that she might need. I think that if JP was really JP, he would have found the crew in the library by now. He's not a stupid guy by any means. He's brilliant, and is as capable as anyone to find the library. Also, if Laura's dad could find them, I'm pretty sure JP could. Will wants to serve his mother in any way, especially if it means being favored more than Carmilla or even Mattie.
You're gonna regret that, kitty.
God, he really is a mama's boy. I don't think he was hugged enough as a child. Okay, now this is part 2 of my video. These are questions I have that I'm hoping will be answered by the end of season 3. Number 1, if the gang couldn't physically leave Silas after trying multiple times,
Because of our unexpected need to flee the Silas campus several days ago. And because when we finally hiked to the nearest town and tried to explain our situation, someone tried to bite their mare. So they formed a mob.
With torches and pitchforks.
And chased us here. Turns out escaping Austria across the Alps, not as easy as the Sound of Music made it out to be. Between the moving chasms and the freakball blizzards and the Styrian villagers with torches and pitchforks, we were forced to return to campus.
how the hell did Papa Hollis get on campus and find Laura? Number 2, where did they get this killer wardrobe? Did somebody make a trip back up to the surface? I'm assuming it'd be Carmilla. But like, are clothes a good enough reason to go back up to the surface and risk exposing yourself? This is like a 3-part question. How did the Dean survive the Blade of Hoster? How does she do any of her shit? Is she a necromancer of some sort? It's confirmed that we will get an answer to at least the first question. by the end of the season, which, I mean, it's good enough for me. I want to know how she survived the sword. And Carmilla was like, bam, bitch, bam! Did the Dean purposefully reanimate Mattie or no? If not, whose side is Mattie on? I would assume ours. Whether or not the Dean did this on purpose is of vital importance, because if she didn't, it would be the only factor that she didn't have control over and didn't already think through in advance. Lastly, when did Perry become the Dean? There are so many instances when the possession could have happened. Was it in the crater at the end of season 1? Because that would make the most sense. But I guess the thing with me is that Perry acted like Perry. Very much like Perry.
I'm dripping blood on the very expensive rug. We need to put down towels. Someone should get a towel.
Up until the very end, when you could see clearly that this wasn't Perry, that this was someone totally different.
Perry, this is the Silas Charter. Where did you get
Never
this?
mind that. Destroy it, and he'll be obliterated along with it.
Obliterated?
He's gonna kill Carmilla. Can you really let that happen?
So my thing is, was Perry able to suppress the Dean until the very end? Or was the Dean just a really good actress? And if the Dean was a really good actress, why didn't she keep up her act until the very end? Because she started kind of losing it, starting with like the last few episodes of season 2, to the point where even Laugh notices that Perry is not Perry.
And who knows what that might do to him. Something gruesome if we're lucky.
Perry, you feeling okay?
So if you're that good at your act, and you've been holding it and keeping this act for so long, why would you fuck up at the very end? So for me, part of me is wondering if Perry was still Perry, but that the Dean would come out at certain times. Maybe she's been fighting and suppressing the possession for a long while. It's something I've been confused about for a while. These are all questions that I need answered. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my video. I appreciate you all letting me rant about my thoughts and theories about season 3 of Carmilla, and I cannot wait to see it when Act 1 comes out on September 15th. Everyone, like, comment, share. Let me know what your theories are. What are you looking forward to seeing in this season? What do you think's gonna happen? Enlighten me. See you around, Creampuffs.